David Biase, co-founder and director of Pilot Interactive, has transformed his digital agency into a brand technology company. Early in the company's 8-year history, he and his partner noticed a divide between interactive design and programming cultures. His firm prides itself on nurturing a culture that embraces the art and the tech, creating software that looks as good as it functions. David is here today to talk about how he came to co-found Pilot at 22 years of age, how technology can solve difficult business and real-world problems, and why it's important to respect form and function in building software for companies. Welcome, David.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. How did you get started in the world of tech?
Oh boy, that's a long story. Basically, I had a very keen interest in programming from a very young age, dabbled with computers a lot, was always fumbling with something, and it came to a point where I started purchasing a lot of basic programming books, so ASP, JavaScript, a lot of very basic entry-level programming literature, and over time started to learn and adapt to a lot of the literature that I had collected, and pretty much taught myself a lot of the fundamentals that were required to launch a career into tech. It was interesting though, because my schooling, my education never really accounted for that, or went in a completely different direction. It was anticipated that I would go to law school and basically follow a completely different path than where I'm at right now. But just a general interest, a passion came out of it, and at age 18, I had an opportunity to build my first e-commerce platform. It was a paid gig with a consulting shop, and I remember my parents asked me, "What are you doing this summer? Are you working at the family business, or what are your plans?" And I said, well, I have this opportunity to work on this contract project, and they're going to pay me, I think it was like $15,000, $20,000 for 3 months of work. Yeah, and they didn't believe me at first, and they questioned it a lot, and they were pretty upset that I wasn't going to go work in the family business. And so I sat there in my basement for 3 months, put a lot of effort, a lot of time into it, and by the end of the 3 months, I had delivered the project, and I got that check for, again, $15,000, $20,000, and my parents sat there and like, oh, okay, good. Well, at least you did something with your time, and they were impressed with the amount, obviously, but the whole thing kind of grew out of that passion and that sense that this is something I could be good at, and it just drove me to want to do better and better and better at it. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my basic start. Once I was in university, I went into political science as an undergraduate student, and I did 4 years of that, and I wrote my LSATs and was ready to submit my application, sent them all in, and suddenly decided, well, I'm not sure if law would necessarily be for me, quite honestly.
I don't think it would be, David.
No.
As it turns out, I think it was a great move, and you got that little taste of the entrepreneurial bug.
Absolutely. My family, they're all entrepreneurs, they're all in business for themselves, and I got a lot of that essence from them. It was really passed down to me. I mean, they had me work from the age of 12 to pretty much 18 in the family business, as a cashier, as a manager, doing various things, and that really ingrained a sense of responsibility, but also an aptitude for business sense. I never actually studied any business. I never went into any official program. I just had to teach myself naturally throughout my whole career. And I mean, going back to it, when it came time to decide law school, not law school, I ended up befriending a graphic designer. We sat there and we decided, let's start something. I have a programming background, you have a graphic design background. It seems like a really good fit. It was very natural for us to be working together, especially at such an early time when digital was just picking up. There was a lot of need to fill that space, to build the applications that a lot of large agencies didn't really have the internal resources for. They simply weren't tooled for that level of production work. It was mostly print, radio, television. Digital was very, very fresh to them. So, to to skilled young people coming in, basically offering our services, and we did a lot of work. And at first, it was not the greatest. You'd be given a brief, and it would be a Facebook application or a contest website or a micro website, and that's how we got our start, building small things and eventually growing a team and building larger and larger things.
So now when you look back, what do you think has made Pilot so successful now, and what's unique about it?
Well, I'd say what's unique about it is pretty much our team culture. Because we both came from a background of technology and design, it really gave way to a really fresh or a very unique culture, because we'd walk into a client meeting and they would see, okay, he's talking the tech, she's talking the design, and there was a fluidity that came out of the way we sold things, and that fluidity also was passed down to our team members. And over time, we'd go through the same process as every agency: hire a programmer, hire a designer. But just the way we all worked together and the way my partner interfaced with me, that kind of disseminated down to the other team members, and we started to see a lot of crossover in disciplines. So a lot of designers were interested in learning code, and a lot of the coders started becoming very interested in design.
Really?
It was a very natural process. Myself, I'm a programmer. That's my I guess main skill set. But I was always very good at art in high school, and I had a passion for making things look good. I like photography, I like drawing and painting, and that was always music as well. As a matter of fact, I played in a lot of music bands in high school, and I felt like I always had both sides of the brain, and I just happened to go down the track of software because I could program games with it, and like little applications, and make a computer respond to my needs and wants, and I found that really refreshing. The creative process in software was so much different than the creative process in a typical art experiment, I guess you could say. And so I guess to answer your question, what came out of that whole experience was this crossover culture where we could all share in our experiences and in our knowledge, and that formed into a unique culture that we have today. And I think the second aspect of what makes Pilot so successful is probably the timing. With any good concept, any good product, timing is so key to getting in the marketplace. And we started at a time in the Toronto scene when there was a desperate need for our type of skill sets. And like I said, people would either come in with software programming skills or design skills. The fact that we could enter a market and offer both and alleviate the client of having to worry about both those considerations, it made us very successful in that regard. And we built a team, a culture, and a reputation off of that.
And I think the fact that you were 22 at the time was key, because some of these bigger agencies they're a little slower to adapt to what's happening.
Absolutely. They see two young people that are trying to enter the industry, and they've got fresh ideas and fresh approach. We're in tune with digital culture, and we're all over our phones all the time, and that was seen as refreshing. And in some regards, it was a little difficult because we're not as experienced as people that were leading agencies or starting their own business, but we had the skills, and we'd always deliver on what we promised, and that was absolutely key to fetching more work and winning more projects.
Well, when I started my first business at 19, I had to grow a beard to be taken seriously by some of the people I was trying to sell to. So it was still around back. There's still a little bit of resistance, but I really believe it was an advantage for you. So tell me about, what does your company actually do? Like for the layman, we're talking about the digital world of marketing and communications. You have a concept called brand technology. Talk to me about that.
Well, we started originally as a web shop. That was the fundamental of what we were offering. So building websites, designing and building websites, and launching them for our clients. And over time, we started to realize, well, we're building more than just a web design skill set. We have team members that are expanding into other areas. They're learning more, I guess, firm software concepts and development concepts and deployment concepts. And our clientele also kind of, the type of clientele that we were bringing on board brought us into a different direction where it wasn't just about web. They would start asking about mobile and a bunch of other concepts or other services that would relate to the marketing aspect of it. We always stuck very firm to what we were saying. We're not a marketing agency. We'll work with marketing agencies. We're not a branding company. We're not really in that realm of anything specific. And we kept ourselves very vague. And at first that was very confusing. We didn't really know how to come to market with it. How do we pitch to people what we do? And over time, we started to recognize, well, what we're doing is building the technology for the brand. It's not necessarily about one specific type of deployment. We can do websites, we can do mobile, we can do high-level API systems, we can build platforms, but it was more about that integrated process of building a solution, a product, a piece of software that will enable that brand to go to market with it and benefit them in any number of ways. It could be helping their bottom line, interfacing with clients, managing an internal process or an internal flow. And so that concept of brand technology really morphed into, we're your technology experts. We want to sit there and help you understand as a layperson, where the technology can fit in solving that problem. Transformed slightly into a consultancy where, we'd create that friendship, that bond, that business connection, and learn a lot about their business. And that was actually one of the benefits of being in services. You're not focusing on one specific industry, you're touching many different aspects of it. So we've been involved in a number of different industries, from retail, wholesale, speaking agencies, universities, high-level software companies, cab dispatch companies, a number of different services that benefited and gave us the experience to understand many, many different segments. So brand technology is pretty much empowering that business with the ability to go to market with something that can benefit any aspect of their business.
So you started your company around 2008, 2009, and you were obviously a part of this whole shift to mobile, mm-hmm. which again is only a part of your business. Mm-hmm. What's the next thing coming? What's next on the horizon, and for your company as well?
Mm-hmm. It's a really good question. I think mobile will continue being a fundamental aspect of a consumer experience. I think that there's a lot of new exciting technology coming out, like VR, augmented reality. These are really neat concepts, and they're only going to grow in popularity. But I think mobile will pretty much be a focus for a long time. In regards to what I'm interested in, where I see our future going, I believe that building platforms and tools that power the, fundamentals of the internet, that's where I'm tending to focus our R&D and our product development cycles. As a matter of fact, a fundamental aspect of what I'm focusing on right now internally is giving the team the freedom to actually execute the projects, run the services side of the business while I focus on the R&D side. Right now we're in the process of raising funds to develop out our own concepts. Just being in the industry, we attract a lot of individuals or businesses that are interested in building products and taking them to market. So it's less about just servicing them now and making our own investments into supporting their products and taking a bit of revenue from the opportunity as well. And just how we're situated, I get approximately 5 requests a week for someone who wants to sit down and pitch their concept to me. So I find myself more in the realm of being kind of like a VC, just sitting there and hearing out these ideas and deciding if I want to work on them or not. And that puts us in a great position, because if there is something really outstanding that I can be passionate about, I'll throw myself at it, and I'll make it a fundamental aspect of our team and how we want to execute the concept. And so I guess the freedom right now is what I'm focusing on for the future of Pilot. The services level work and operating the business has been very successful today, and we'll continue operating that. But launching new products and platforms is what my core focus is. And I'm lucky enough to have a really fantastic team that, that has taken on that responsibility, and they can operate in a way that reflects the original vision and the culture that my partner and I had established.
David, talk to me about your culture, which I know is very important to you.
Yeah, part of a fundamental aspect of our culture is, there's always been a kind of a divide. Programmers are programmers, and they're very mathematical, very logical in nature. And then you have designers who are more creative and subjective with how they approach things. And both those worlds, we're trying to mesh them. We're trying to bring them closer together so that coders can think more creatively and designers can think more logically. And that benefits us in a number of ways. As a matter of fact, we invest a lot into our resources and into our team members to get them to that level where they can cross over. As a matter of fact, Pilot has an active program where we pay for our team members to go out and retain the skills that they need. For example, I have a lead designer right now who has a passion in typefaces and typography. So we found a really fantastic course in New York. It's called Type at Cooper. It's run by Cooper Union and the Typeface Directors Club. And basically it teaches you not just the fundamentals of typography, but also how to create your own typefaces using software. And that was something that she was very passionate about. So we gave her the freedom, a month, to basically go to New York and grow those skills. And she's come back and she feels energized. She wants to create typefaces for the team and for the company. We have another design resource who has a passion for both programming and design, and we wanted to give her the ability to mesh those evenly. And so we sent her a course where she could actually include a lot more motion graphics into the type of interfaces that she builds. So it's not necessarily design in the sense of picking colors, picking grid lines and all those other details. It was more about how can I take a static interface and make it look very fresh by adding slight motion, slight hovers, or more interactive components to it. Sent her to a course, and she came back with a bulk of knowledge that gave her the ability to actually execute on what she had imagined, or some examples that she's seen on other websites or other products, and replicate them. And that's really beneficial because she retains that skill, and we retain that skill internally to be able to create better and better products. And that's ultimately a fundamental aspect of our business. We're not satisfied until we actually have something that can blow your socks off. I mean, the important aspect of what we're trying to achieve is passing client expectations. I'm very hard on my team in the sense of, if it doesn't blow me away, we need to try harder. And that's an important aspect of progressing any team. But the lucky part is that what we've built internally is that passion, is that motivation to constantly push beyond. And I'm not just pandering down to my employees anymore. Now it's them actually taking it upon themselves and wanting to achieve more, pushing the boundary, finding the limits of the technology and ways to circumvent them. And that's so refreshing to see. And I can't express the pride that I have from nurturing something like that and seeing it take its own form and its own structure.
Well, with all due respect to lawyers, David, I think you've made the right choice.
Thank you.
And you're demonstrating wonderful leadership for young entrepreneurs across Canada and the world. So just a delight to have you on Biz 101. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, David.
Pleasure.